Dear Love and Marriage Huntsville and Tisha, when it comes to Tiffany Lewis,
we do not care.
I know y'all are trying to make that a thing where Tisha gets into Tiffany's business, but we don't care. We don't like her. We were happy when she wasn't on the episodes. Thank you very much, though, for giving us a new episode this week, because that Mel and Tail nonsense last week with all the screaming and yelling, we were not fans. Anyway, hey loves, welcome back to Day Spills Tea. I, of course, am the lovely Day. And now that I have complained about the Mel and Tail episode, we can go ahead and jump into last night's episode. But before we do, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button to show me a little bit of love. Make sure you leave some comments down below about what you thought of this Tisha Tiffany crap, because I wasn't interested. And if you haven't subscribed already, take a second to go ahead and do that now. Hit the red subscribe button, ring the little bell, that way you get notified every time your girl posts a new video. With that being said, let's get into it. So the episode picks up where we left off 2 weeks ago with Martel and Melody screaming and hollering at each other yet again. But this time it's because Melody went on a date, and apparently she went to a restaurant that they had previously frequented together, and Martel just wasn't having it. So he decided to show up and record her date and act a plumb fool. Anyway, so as they're arguing, he is resorting to like really childish, petty behavior, talking about how ugly her date is. And he can't even like maintain a solid, consistent thought. He goes from the date being ugly to how dare she be on a date at this restaurant to you be slamming me on social media. Like, no matter what she says, he just kind of swings to a totally different subject and keeps yelling. I was increasingly bothered by this scene because Martell was extremely aggressive. Like, his body language and everything was very dominant and very aggressive. And there are several moments where you see Melody physically back up. So much so to the point to where at one point she just hops in her car and is getting ready to leave. And he gonna say, "That's it? What more do you want from this woman? What more do you want?" She had mentioned the fact that he was still asking her to come back to him, and he's like, "Only if you fix your mouth," or something like that. Sir, she don't want to deal with you no more, and we don't want to deal with you no more. Like, we all sick of you. You are a joke and a mess. I saw something the other day where I guess he is going public with a new girl. I just saw like the thumbnail of a video, and I didn't get a chance to watch the video yet. But based on the thumbnail, the girl looks gorgeous. She looks like a gorgeous young like sex kitten type look, and I'm really interested to see how that's going to work out for him. Anyway, so moving along. Then we see Kimmy is meeting with her friend Patricia, and I almost immediately really liked Patricia. So they talked a little bit about Kiowa, and the way I understood it is that Patricia and Kimmy have been friends for 20 plus years, okay? Patricia and Maurice have also been friends for a number of years, since before he divorced Kiowa. It appears that she became friends with Kiowa through Maurice. Okay, but Kimmy says that she and Maurice did not actually know each other at that time. We also find out that apparently Maurice filed for divorce from Kiowa 2 times. And the first time, I guess she was ducking and dodging the paperwork. And the second time, he up and fled the state of Michigan. So I guess he went to Florida to live for a while and then found himself in Huntsville, kind of living with Patricia, who was his good friend. And I can understand that if he filed twice and went back, I can understand that Kiowa was thinking that maybe he was still going to come back again. But Patricia is like, nah, he left the state. Like, he was done. She's like, I know my friend. He was done. And then Kimmy was mentioning that it seemed to her like part of the reason Kiowa was so upset with her and allowing this narrative of her being a side chick, which I don't believe she ever was. She feels like it was because Kiowa was still believing that they would somehow get back together. And once he moved on to Kimmy, then that no longer really seemed like an option. And so she kind of blames Kimmy for that. And it's jacked up, you know. So Patricia brings up the fact that Kimmy and Tisha aren't necessarily getting along, and Tisha didn't have her back. Like, we all saw that extra clip last year of Tisha and Kaya were kind of kikiing it up, and Tisha was letting foul stuff be said, and she wasn't trying to defend Kimmy's name at all, as she would want Kimmy to do for her. Anyway, so Kimmy begins to kind of cue her in on what's going on with the sponsorship. And again, I understand Kimmy being upset that you're going to ask me in front of a group, you're going to address me in front of a group about my donation. That's tacky, first of all. But I loved that Patricia, as much as I adore Kimmy, and in my eyes, like, Kimmy could really do no wrong, but her friend, her real friend, was like, you being petty. Like, she called her out on it, and she was going to hold her feet to the fire. Like, no, you're going to admit that you being petty. Like, why wouldn't you just respond? And so I agree with Kimmy. I probably would not have responded. I would have been in my feelings or whatever. But I love that her friend was going to make her see both sides. And she's like, you have to get to the root cause of the issue. And Kimmy's like, yeah. And Patricia's like, from her perspective. And it's like, oh, yeah. But I like friends like that. I love friends like that, and I'm so grateful for the people in my circle, generally my sisters and cousins, who do the same for me, who kind of hold me accountable and make me turn the lens back at myself and see where I might be making mistakes. So speaking of people turning the lens back at themselves, the next scene is Tisha going home to this surprise therapy, this surprise money counseling from Marsau. So first of all, Tisha be serving body yaddy yaddy. Like, she be killing it. And I think she's younger than just about everybody else. So she always looks amazing as far as, like, you know, the clothes that she wears fit her very, very well. Except for that brown and champagne thing she wears in the confessionals with the sheer sleeves. That's terrible. Anyways, so she comes home and Marsau has this couple in the house ready to give her money counseling. And it's so funny to me that when one person is pushing counseling and things like that on the other person, it's usually because they truly believe they are right and they're expecting the therapist to side with them. And I can tell you from my own relationship that rarely ever happens. If you have a good therapist, a good counselor, they're not going to just see one person's side. They usually will take that lens and make both of you actually look at it and see where you're kind of making the mistakes. So I appreciated that Tisha was fine with the surprise. Marsau was just as proud of himself. He's all smiling, skinning and grinning because he swears that this is going to go his way. But as Tisha starts talking, we realize that she's not doing no more spending than he's doing. And he tries to paint this narrative that she's just shopping with all their money all crazy and frivolous, but everything he does is justified because it's for the business. And so she made a good point in saying that, you know, I shop for me and the kids, which I'm sure she does more than necessary. Okay, let's be clear. I'm a woman, I know. And he is saying that he does things for the business, like buying a new truck. And she's like, okay, but you could have fixed the transmission. Instead, you went and bought a new truck. And she's saying that he appears to feel like because he makes the money, he is the one who makes all the decisions about the money. And so we see a clip where, you know, he's saying that he's making executive decisions about the business on his own. Not surprised by that either. I think a lot of us experience that. I make enough money to take care of myself, but my husband makes a lot more money than me. And when it comes to the major decisions, I know he feels like he just gets the final say. And guess what I do? I don't care, because I'm going to go ahead and go to work and get my check and do what I want to do regardless. But everybody's not necessarily in that situation. And I do think that a lot of men feel that way, that I make the money, I make the decisions. And that's something, whether or not that's going to work, is something that the two have to agree on early on in the relationship, I think. I thought that was interesting because she also said that you make decisions without considering my feelings. And at that moment, I'm like, oop, his little surprise done backfired on him. This is not what he was expecting it to be. So she talks about how she spends money on makeup and things like that, and they go up to see her closet to see her spending. But then they go look at his spending, which is this new Mercedes that he's bought. Now he says, yeah, I bought it as my 40th birthday present. So that's his justification, right? Because we all have a justification for what we do. We all can always justify what we do as being right. But anyways, he's trying to compare him buying a car for his 40th birthday. And this is a bad Benz. This ain't like my little GLC. This is a Benz. So he's trying to compare that to her purses, and the male of the couple is like, bruh, like, you don't want to stack up her purses to that car, because like, it's the math ain't gonna math. It's no matter how many purses she done bought, unless she out buying like all sorts of Birkins every couple of weeks, which I doubt, but no matter how many bags she done bought, it's not gonna amount up to this Benz, the other truck, and the other truck. Like, so stop it. But he can't see her spending as being justified, but he can see his own spending as being justified, which is So then they talk about the fact that he kind of came up in poverty, and she didn't come up in poverty. And again, it makes me think about my husband and I, because I grew up like, we was kind of broke, you know, and my husband didn't necessarily grow up broke. And so when he decides that he wants to go shop, no matter what luxury store he's in, he just shops. He buys what he wants to buy, and he doesn't really think about it, you know, which is probably what Tisha does. Me, I will buy some luxury items, but I agonize over it, generally for weeks or months, because I don't ever want to be in a position to where I have to be concerned about money again. I never want to have to be worried about, if I spend this extra $10 at Walmart, is it going to mean that we might not have enough ground beef for dinner? Like, because those were the conversations I had to have in my head early on. So I get Marsau looking at her spending as being superfluous, because he came from poverty and he never wants to go back there. But he still has to look at himself. So then we move on to Destiny's business beauty lunch, which was really, really cute. Mel came dressed to kill in yet another ice skater outfit. I don't know who's making her these ice skater costumes, but they need to tell her that they are for ice skating. Although she looked really, really cute. Destiny is shouting out Kimmy, and Kimmy's like, it's because she wants a threesome. And I just can't help but wonder, when Destiny watches this back, is she going to find that funny, or is she going to be offended? Because it came up later again, too, while Kimmy and Maurice joked about it. So I wonder how she's going to feel about that. Hopefully she takes it lightly and understands that it's just kind of being funny. So Mel appears to be trying to start a fight with Destiny about not receiving a sponsorship kit. I like the way Destiny handled it. She just was like, it's my bad. Like, I dropped the ball or whatever. And I felt like Mel was still kind of trying to make it a problem, even though she gave her a check. But again, Destiny handled it very, very gracefully. So Tisha jumps in and starts talking about the sponsorship that Destiny and Mel promised her for the Destiny race. And I was just like, wow, that's so tacky. Like, are you really going to sit up here and bring up what somebody didn't pay in front of a group like this? That is tacky business. I'm sorry. That's not how you get donations. And generally, when people make donations and things like that, they don't always want to even be recognized for it. So I just was thinking like, wow, this is really, 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 really tacky. And I know Mel said it was fine with her, but it would not have been fine with me. I would think that's a little bit embarrassing if I made that mistake. So then Kimmy is like, well, did you get my donation? And is it me, or did Tisha give her all the attitude in the world? So Tisha was like, I was getting to that. Ma'am, first of all, because you already put Kimmy on blast about this donation, if you were going to bring it up at this table, I personally, having a little better judgment and taste, would have said first, Kimmy, thank you so much for the donation that you and Maurice sent in. And then I would have moved on to those who didn't submit their donation. But honestly, I don't think I would have ever brought up the fact that somebody didn't send theirs in a group setting. I just think that's so tacky. But I definitely would have publicly thanked Kimmy because I had publicly shamed her. But that's just me. And I definitely wouldn't have given attitude talking about I was getting to that. And then she starts talking about Kimmy is jumping into stuff that doesn't concern her. It concerns her because you wanted a check. And what were these checks for? Like, we saw the Destiny's race. It was just y'all family. It was like 30 people. What was the sponsorship for? What I really am curious. What was the sponsorship for? Like, I'm trying to remember, did they have like security or something? Did they have like streets blocked off? I don't remember any of that kind of stuff. They didn't even all have matching t-shirts. Like, everybody was kind of wearing random t-shirts promoting their own stuff. What was the sponsorship for? And was anybody else wondering that? I don't know. I mean, and I could have missed it. It could be that they were providing some charity somewhere. It could have been that they were making donations, you know, to go to something else. But I didn't quite understand what the sponsorship was that was required for the Destiny race, to where she's calling people out about it after the fact, with it being so tacky. So Tisha decides to get up and ask Tiffany to come with her so that she could ask her about her personal life. Okay, Tisha, who told you to do that? Because don't nobody care. Who told you to go ask Tiffany about her past? I don't know if production told her to do that, or if Tiffany told, like, you know, collaborated with her so that y'all could have a moment, you know, because you weren't on the last few episodes. Maybe you needed to find a way to be relevant. And so you told Tisha to ask you about it. I don't know. But Tisha was very calculated and very interviewee, asking Tiffany these questions. And then Tiffany talking about she cheated on her husband when they were in high school. Girl, if you don't shut up wasting my time, don't nobody care. Y'all was kids. Don't nobody care about you in high school and his first husband. Why you waste my time? Not interested. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Anyways, so then my favorite scene is Kimmy is going to meet Maurice for dinner. She doesn't really know what's going on. He told her to come to a hotel. And when she gets there, it's this beautiful, beautiful picnic that's set up for her in the hotel room. And so they sit there and they have dinner. And he's telling her about how he met with Dr. Francis. And I really, really love that when they first walked in the room, he handed her a rose and said, "This is for you." And then he put his hands on her hips and said, "This is for me." And I thought it was so cute. Because every woman wants to still feel like she's sexy and desirable and attractive and all of that in her man's eyes, no matter how long you've been together. I still love it for my husband to make me feel desired, and we've been together like forever, like all our adult lives. So I thought that was really, really cute. So they sit down and they have their dinner, and he's telling her about Dr. Francis and how he now hears her. So he told her that they're going on the honeymoon, and he showed her like the pamphlet or whatever. And then they made their jokes about Destiny. But then she got teary, and he just kept repeating, "I hear you, I hear you." I was like, oh, this is so sweet. Like, it made me so happy to see Kimmy getting something that she wanted, because I just really think that she's a wonderful person. So I really hope that both their trips work out really, really well. So I enjoyed that scene a lot. That like made the whole show for me. Instead of a Mel and Tail Yale Fest, I would love to see more about Maurice and Kimmy. I would love to see more about whatever steps they take to improve their relationship and strengthen their relationship. You know, I would love to see more moments like this. I would love to see more about their upbringing of Monster, meshing that with Jaden, even though Jaden is grown. And I would love to see more even about their relationship with Kiowa and things like that. So if you're going to do an episode that's just about one couple, make it Kimmy and Maurice, not Mel and Tail. Anyways, that's all I got. I hope you all will interact with me and leave some comments down and all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.